Hello, welcome to day 46 of the Lent Devotional series. Today we'll be going over Isaiah 28:14 verse 22 and Matthew 25, 1 through 14. So to begin with Isaiah chapter 28, we see that the title of the passage is Judgment on Corrupt Rulers, Priests, and Prophets. So the Lord is describing how we're proud drunkards and how they are overcome with pride and with they're unable to focus on God. They are filled with rich food, drink, and wine, and they're unable to focus or see God. And God is warning them, saying to fear Him, right? To fear Him and trust in Him. And to go towards our passage, it says, "Therefore hear the word of the Lord, you scoffer, who rules this people in Jerusalem. Because you have said, we have made a covenant with death, and with Sheol we have an agreement. When the overwhelming scourge passes through, it will not come to us, for we have made our lies our refuge, and our falsehood we have taken shelter." So what it's saying is that God is saying to the rulers and to the people that they are saying to Him that their refuge is in themselves, right? Basically, their refuge is with death and with themselves. Essentially what this is saying is that they are not looking to God for their refuge. They're not looking to God for their salvation, but they are looking to the world for their salvation. And God is saying, please listen to my warning, listen to my warning. And then afterwards it's saying, "Therefore thus says the Lord, see, I'm laying in Zion a foundation, a stone, a tested stone, a precious cornerstone, a sure foundation. One who trusts will not panic. And I will make justice the line and righteousness the plummet. Hail will sweep away the refuge of the lie, and water will overwhelm the shelter. Then your covenant with death will be annulled, and your agreement with Sheol will not stand when the overwhelming scourge passes through." What scourge means is punishment. "You will be beaten down by it. As soon as it passes through, it will take you. For morning by morning, it will pass through, by day and by night." So this section is basically saying that in Jesus, right, your cornerstone, you will be completely saved. You will be completely strong and assured. But if you put your faith in the world, if you put your faith in not in God, and if you don't look to God, if you don't fear God, then what's going to happen is that this punishment is going to come down upon you, and it's going to take you day after day by after day, right? And it's going to come over you, right? So to continue with it, it says on verse 20, "For the bed is too short to stretch." Verse 19, "As it passes through, it will take you. For morning by morning, it will pass through, by day and by night. And it will be sheer terror to understand the message. For the bed is too short to stretch oneself on, and the covering too narrow to wrap oneself in. For the Lord will rise up as on Mount Perizim, and He will rage as in the valley of Gibeon. To do His deed, strange is His deed. To do His work, alien is His work. Now therefore do not scoff, or your bonds will be made stronger. For I have heard a decree of destruction from the Lord of hosts upon the whole land." So the Lord essentially in this section is asking for a few things. He's asking to listen to His word. He's saying, do not be drunk with pride. Do not be drunk and losing sight of God by pursuing the world. Don't be disillusioned by desire. And the next thing it says, to not place your faith in yourself, but to place your faith in God. Place your trust in Jesus, right? He's the sure cornerstone that is mentioned in verse 16 is a sure foundation. One who trusts will not panic. So that is the only thing that will not be shaken away when this storm, when this scourge comes over and this hail comes over to knock you over. Only in Jesus would you stand strong. And if we put our trust in ourselves, right, or as God describes it, this covenant with death, right? If we put our trust in ourselves, that covenant with death is not going to protect us. That the things of this world is not going to protect us. Only Christ will save us. So it's basically asking to fear the Lord and to understand and His goodness and to trust in Him. And another thing that I wanted to mention was in verse 28, a little bit ahead of this passage. It says, "Grain is crushed for bread, but one does not thresh it forever. One drives the cart wheel and horses over it, but does not pulverize it. This also comes for the Lord of hosts. He is wonderful in counsel and excellent in wisdom. So that is Isaiah 28, verse 28 through 29. And these verses are really amazing because it's saying that there's a reason for punishment. The punishment's purpose is not to destroy you, but to correct you, right? We have a certain time in which we're able to be corrected by God in order that we may be saved. And he's basically saying, listen to his warning, turn away from sin, and do not scoff, do not take for granted what he's saying. And this kind of connects to Matthew 25, because when we go towards Matthew 25, it's the parable of the 10 bridesmaids. So essentially the parable of the 10 bridesmaids is that the bridegroom is coming, right? And then there is 5 foolish bridesmaids, and there's 5 wise bridesmaids. The wise bridesmaids takes with them extra oil, so that when they go out to meet the bridegroom, they would have enough, and that their lamps would not go out. While the 5 foolish ones did not take extra oil. So the bridegroom was delayed in his coming, and all of them fell asleep. But in the night they cried out, saying, Look, the bridegroom is here. So in verse 5, it says, look, here's the bridegroom, come out and meet him. And then in verse 7, it says, then all those bridesmaids got up, trimmed their lamps. The foolish one said to the wise, give us some of your oil, for our lamps are going to go out. But the wise replied, no, there will not be enough for both you and for us. You had better go to the dealers and buy some for yourself. And verse 10 says, and while they went to buy it, the bridegroom came, and those who were ready went with him into the wedding banquet, and the door was shut. Later the other bridesmaid came also saying, Lord, Lord, open the door for us. But he replied, truly I tell you, I do not know you. Verse 13 says, keep awake, therefore, for you know neither the day nor the hour. So this describes 5 people who are ready to go out and meet God, and 5 people who are unprepared. All of them had their lamps to meet God, but without keeping the fuel of the lamp, without being prepared, 5 of them were unable to go with God. So I think the most important thing of this part is to be prepared for the coming of the Lord, for we don't know when the coming of the Lord is. And the next important thing is to seek God in all things that we do, and to pursue God. If we become complacent, both of these chapters, the main focus is how complacency leads us to missing out on God. It leads us to punishment and leads us to not being able to take joy in God. But instead, we shouldn't be pursuing and being the world or the desires of the world, but we should be seeking God in all things that we do, and we should be taking joy in his goodness and his light. And the Lord just asks us to just look towards him and to trust in Jesus, especially when we go back to Isaiah. It says that the cornerstone, if we trust in the cornerstone, then we're not going to be shaken, right? If we trust in the house of lies and falsehood, then we will be shaken, we will be taken away. And then once again, in the parable of the 10 bridesmaids, if we are prepared, right, for the Lord, right, and keep that extra oil and trust in God, look to God always, then we will not miss out on the greatest blessing that we have in our lives. So as we conclude, I encourage you guys both to read both these passages, Matthew 25 as well as Isaiah 28, and pray over it. And I hope that you guys will have a good day.